Excellent!
What's up guys, and welcome to today's build video. I am very excited about today's video for 3 reasons. One is it's my March build and I'm building it and it's still March, and that's a win right there, honestly. If you've been following my monthly build video series, we're getting caught back up. Second reason is this is my first full system built based on Ryzen, so I will be using the R7 1700 in this build. 8-core, 16-thread processor. Very excited about that. And then the third reason is I definitely tried to stick to a little bit more of a budget with this build. So the system that you see here is going to cost you about $1,400. But I put a second variant of the system with just a few parts changed here and there that comes in at about $1,200. So check the video's description if you want to see links to both of those over on PC Part Picker. All that said though, let's run down all the parts that I'm going to be building with today. I guess you could add this as a fourth reason I'm kind of excited for this build. This is the MasterCase Pro 6. This is going to be our case, and this is a brand new case from Cooler Master. It is part of their MasterCase series though, so it does fit with their freeform modular system. So all the accessories and everything that they sell for like the MasterCase 5 and 3 and all that stuff are swappable into this. This one has a silent design where the top panel can pop up and down and give you either more airflow or block a little bit of the internal noise. So that should be a nice spacious case to build in, and I love the quality of Cooler Master cases because they're always built like tanks. For the motherboard, we have the AsRock X370 Tai Chi. This motherboard has been getting a lot of good press, I think, since Ryzen launched, because AsRock has been pretty diligently working on updated BIOSes for this board, as well as their entire series of AM4 motherboards. This one has a pretty cool black and white design, and I'm hoping we can get a pretty decent overclock going on this one as well once it's all installed. Also, plenty of features like M.2 support and high-speed storage, as well as connectivity. For storage, we have a single SSD, and I'm assuming if you're going to want additional storage in this build and you're building it at home, you're probably going to want to drop in another mechanical drive or something like that. In the parts list, I have a 480 gig version of this SanDisk Ultra 2. I'm actually building with a 1 terabyte version because that's what I have on hand right here, but that shouldn't affect speeds or anything like that. It's a very nice fast drive, and if you keep an eye out for it, you can find it for very reasonable prices. Now we have the CPU and cooler combo. So the CPU, of course, the Ryzen 7 1700. In my opinion, this is the price to performance king when it comes to the recent CPUs launched by Ryzen. If you are willing to overclock a 1700, you can get it to very, very, very close to the type of performance you get from a 1700X or an 1800X. 8-core, 16-thread, beast of a workstation processor, handles games just fine as well. And I'm going to be pairing that with also a new product from Cooler Master, their Master Air Pro 4. We're hoping this will be a worthy successor to the Hyper 212 Evo, although the Hyper 212 is of course still available. This one I think looks a little bit better. They put a plate on top to give it a sort of a darker look. Still has your direct copper contact heat pipes and all that, so we'll be putting that through its paces in the follow-up video when I test performance, of course, and I'll be giving you some feedback on that. We also have a Cooler Master power supply, their V650. This is a very good power supply, all Japanese capacitors, 5-year warranty, 80 plus gold rated, and it has all black cables as well, so no ketchup and mustard going on here. And then almost finally, I was about to say finally, but I realized I'm missing a pretty important piece here. We have the memory. This is the Corsair Vengeance LPX DDR4. Insanely popular memory because it just gets the job done. It's low profile, it's all black. And then when it comes to the AMD stuff, the Ryzen stuff that's just launched, memory compatibility can be touchy at times, but Corsair, at least with this kit, has done the widest amount of validation across a bunch of different motherboards, so we're confident that it will work. And I've at least run this at 2933. I don't know, we'll see with the Tai Chi, maybe with the new motherboard BIOS we can run this at straight 3000, but that is a 2x8 gig kit. And then you might have noticed in the intro I didn't have a graphics card set out here, and that is because I basically said get a GTX 1070 for this build. At least that's what I'm pairing it with. And when it comes to GTX 1070s, I mean, pick your flavor. They all kind of perform within the same relative range of each other as long as you have like an aftermarket cooler and you're overclocking a bit. This is the GALAX GTX 1070 EXOC, which is a pretty decent overclocker, and it's got a nice little cooler on there as well. So that's what I'm going to be dropping in here. But hey, if you find one on PC Part Picker or wherever else that you get a better deal on or anything like that, as long as it says GTX 1070 on it, and it's from a vendor you've heard of before, you know, Asus, MSI, Gigabyte, EVGA, you'll be just fine. But GALAX, I mean, they do a good job too. A little harder to come by in the US, but I have already tested this card, and it is solid. So there are all the parts, and now begins ye old build time-lapse. So wish me luck, and here goes. So with the build all completed and put together, I do have a little bit of initial feedback on the assembly and just a few of the quirks and everything. The case, the MasterCase Pro 6, overall I think is doing a pretty good job here. There's definitely some pros and cons to it though. I do like the look of it. I like the finish. It's got sort of a nice gray finish. It's not quite black, but it's subtle and I feel like appropriate. There's some quirks to this case that take a little bit of getting used to, but once you're used to them, you're more used to them. So for instance, it has all these panels that pop out. So like this front panel I just popped out and you can see it kind of gives a couple centimeters of space there. The top panel can do that as well, as I just did there. It feels a little awkward at first, but once you figure out how it works, you start to think like, okay, well that's pretty easy to pop up, and then that would just allow more air to flow in there or flow out of there or whatnot. So you kind of put yourself in airflow mode for better cooling. The top front panel connectors here are, again, sort of strange. They're kind of tucked away in this little panel, which just flips up, and then it's got a rubber piece right there that holds it, and then it flips all the way back, and a magnet holds it in place. Actually, magnets hold lots of these pieces in place, so it makes it easier to pop them on and off, again, once you get used to it. But there's the I/O. And then like for the front piece here, if you don't want to put it in airflow mode like that, you can also just remove it by like lifting all the way out like that, and that kind of folds back, and then you can just lift it off, which again is pretty easy, and that gives you access to the front panel for cleaning out your dust filters and whatnot, and this you just grab from the bottom to pull off. So pretty good as far as airflow and dust filtration goes. It can get a little awkward down around here at the back though, because there's also a piece back here which also kind of pops off, which I don't know, I might just not use this piece, honestly. If I had this case, I'm on the fence about it. Because you can imagine if you had all your cables coming back through here, this would be stuck. You couldn't get it off without removing all those cables. But you need to remove it in order to get at the thumb screws. So it makes removing the side panels, I think, a little bit more complicated than it needs to be. Speaking of which, let's remove that side panel. Now the side panels have this cool trick you can do where if you pull them back like that, it will just sort of hang like that, which is actually kind of nice. And then again, you just lift it off. There's just some kind of catches down there along the base of that holds it in place. And then I like that they have a protective piece over there to cover your power supply area. I thought that was a nice to have that you don't always see. This is not a tempered glass piece on here on the side, so that is one thing I feel like was, I don't know, it would be interesting to see this case with just tempered glass as this insert instead of just plexi. But then internally you can see everything, you know, it all fits in there, thankfully. And I will say that the AM4 mount for the cooler here, the Master Air Pro 4, is not too difficult. It's pretty much the same mount situation that you have with like a Hyper 212. The AM4 bracket does not ship with this cooler right now, though they will be doing, I believe, an updated version of it that does ship AM4 compatible. They will send you an AM4 mounting kit, which they sent me for my Hyper 212 Evo, and since it's the same mounting solution, I was able to just use that for the Master Air Pro 4 as well. And I do like the look of this too. I think that black kind of brushed metal plate gives it a much cleaner finished look, and puts it kind of more in line with some of the coolers we've been seeing from like Cryorig and Enermax that, you know, do a good job cooling, but also look pretty decent as well. So I will be coming back to the system and doing some testing and benchmarks. Gotta check out some of the new BIOS updates for the X370 Taichi from AsRock right there. See if I can get some higher memory speeds going, and just see what kind of gaming and workstation performance we get from this system. The $1,200 to $1,400-ish Ryzen build for March 2017. But thanks for watching this video, guys. Really hope you've enjoyed it. Hit the thumbs up button if you did. I'll be back soon with more videos on Paul's Hardware.